What if a single vote in the United States Senate could reshape the future of an entire nation? Today, we're diving into a political debate that continues to spark fierce reactions across America. A recent letter published in Maine has reignited criticism of Senator Susan Collins, the most influential moderate Republicans in Congress. The letter asks voters to consider the long-term consequences of Collins' judicial confirmation votes and whether those decisions help transform the American legal system in ways that continue to affect millions of people today. For decades, Susan Collins built a reputation as an independent voice, willing to cross party lines. Many voters viewed her as a centrist, capable of balancing conservative and moderate values. But critics argue that some of her most important votes tell a very different story. So what are these judicial votes? Why are people still talking about them years later? How have they influenced the political battles America faces today? Let's break it all down.
The Kavanaugh confirmation, one of the most controversial moments of Collins' career, came in 2018. At the time, President Donald Trump nominated Brett Kavanaugh to the U.S. Supreme Court. The nomination quickly became one of the most contentious confirmation battles in modern American history. Kavanaugh faced allegations of sexual misconduct, leading to national protests, televised hearings, and intense political division. Many Americans watched closely as several senators remained undecided. Among them was Susan Collins. Her vote became one of the most important in the entire confirmation process. Eventually, Collins announced that she would support Kavanaugh's nomination, arguing that she believed he was qualified for the Supreme Court and that the evidence presented did not justify rejecting him. Her decision helped secure Kavanaugh's confirmation to the nation's highest court. For supporters, Collins demonstrated independence and respect for due process. Critics, however, her vote represented a turning point. Many believed that the court's ideological balance had permanently shifted.
The Dobbs decision and its aftermath. Years later, critics point to one Supreme Court decision above all others: the Dobbs ruling. This landmark decision overturned Roe v. Wade and ended the federal constitutional protection for abortion rights that had existed for nearly 50 years. The ruling immediately transformed abortion policy across America. Some states moved quickly to restrict abortion access. Others expanded protections. The result was a dramatically different legal landscape depending on where someone lived. Many opponents of Collins argue that judicial confirmations, including Kavanaugh and other conservative judges, played a major role in making the Dobbs decision possible. As a result, they believe Collins bears political responsibility for helping shape the court that ultimately overturned Roe. Supporters disagree. They argue that judges should interpret the Constitution rather than create policy, and that Supreme Court decisions should be evaluated independently from the senators who confirm the justices. This disagreement remains one of the most significant political debates in America today. The recent letter published in Maine revisits these concerns. The author urges readers to look beyond campaign promises and political branding. Instead, the letter encourages voters to evaluate outcomes. What happened after these judges were confirmed? What decisions were made? How did those decisions affect ordinary Americans? The central argument is straightforward. Judicial votes have consequences, and voters should consider those consequences when evaluating elected officials. Whether people agree or disagree with the author's conclusions, the letter highlights a larger issue facing democratic societies everywhere. How should citizens judge their representatives? By intentions, by rhetoric, or by outcomes? It's a question that remains deeply relevant in modern politics. Section 6. The broader national debate. The controversy surrounding Susan Collins reflects something much bigger than one senator. Across the United States, judicial appointments have become increasingly important in elections. Both Republicans and Democrats now emphasize the courts as a major reason to vote. Political campaigns routinely highlight judicial philosophy. Interest groups spend millions of dollars discussing court nominations, and voters increasingly recognize that judges can influence public policy long after presidents and senators leave office. As a result, confirmation votes that once attracted little public attention now receive national scrutiny. The Collins debate illustrates how a single Senate vote can remain politically significant years later. Supporters' perspective. It's important to note that Collins still has many supporters. They argue that critics often ignore her independent voting record and focus only on a handful of controversial decisions. Supporters say Collins carefully reviews judicial nominees rather than automatically following party leadership. They point to her history of bipartisan cooperation and willingness to break with Republicans on various issues. From this perspective, judicial confirmations should be based on qualifications,
legal expertise, and constitutional principles, not political pressure. Supporters also argue that senators cannot be held personally responsible for every future court ruling made by judges they helped confirm. For them, criticism is unfair, overly simplistic. As America approaches another major election cycle, debates over judicial appointments are unlikely to disappear. In fact, they may become even more important. The courts continue to play a central role in some of the nation's most divisive issues, and voters increasingly understand that Senate races can have long-term consequences beyond legislation. The renewed attention on Susan Collins demonstrates how political decisions made years ago continue shaping public opinion today. Whether voters ultimately agree with her record or not, one thing is clear: judicial confirmations remain among the most consequential actions any senator can take. So what do you think? Should elected officials be judged by the long-term outcomes of their votes? Are senators responsible for the future decisions of judges they confirm? Or should judicial confirmations be viewed separately from later court rulings? The debate surrounding Susan Collins is about more than one politician. It's about accountability, democracy, and the enduring power of the courts in American life. If you found this analysis helpful, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications for more in-depth coverage of global politics, geopolitical developments, and major stories shaping our world. For watching, we'll see you in the next video.